Um, maybe Saudi can help Bakhram get fights because he won't get the fights he needs. Or yeah, that's true. See, this is where I can be an adult and I can compartmentalize and I can put my feelings aside and I can admit because in life, like not just with Saudi and Turkey and them in boxing, but just for people in general, nothing is all bad, nothing is all good. The same way that nobody is all bad and nobody's all good. You know, there are fighters in boxing where I feel like the Saudis have immense value for. Look at what the Saudis have done for people like Martin Bakoli and Aji Cabello. These guys were middling heavyweight contenders, good fighters, worthy enough and competent enough to get big fights, but couldn't get the big fights because the promoters were never going to fight those guys unless they're mandatories. They're very high risk, low reward guys, you know. But because of Riyadh season, because of Turkey and the investment that they had in boxing, those guys have actually been afforded the opportunity to have a real career. Cabello got to fight Makhmudov and Frank Sanchez and performed great in both fights. Martin Bakoli beat the brakes off Jaron Ennis and absolutely positively exposed Jaron Anderson. So, you know, there is value for certain fighters with Riyadh season. And I think Bakhram is 1,000% going to be one of those guys because I don't see at the way he did the Tim Zoo. I'll tell you right now, man. Robert Garcia, who's part of Virgil Ortiz's team, he's not gonna go pick. He's not gonna go ahead and go pick no damn Bakhram. That would be a suicide mission. They'll take safer fights. They'll wait for the coast to clear. They're not gonna fight Bakhram. A lot of guys are not gonna fight Bakhram, and I'll tell you guys like this: anybody who fights Bakhram after that demolition job he just put on Tim Zoo deserves full credit because you know, that's the kind of performance that would strike fear in a lot of people, you know, or not fear. I don't know if fear is the right word, but it would have a lot of management teams, fighters second guessing themselves if they're really prepared to go through that kind of a of a battle, you know, because when you fight Bakhram, you're gonna lose some pieces of yourself. He's one of them guys. If you fight him, you're gonna lose a piece of yourself in that ring. And truthfully speaking, like for fighters, it doesn't matter if you're fighting the mandatory challenger, the voluntary defense, the unification fight, the biggest fight of your life. Every training camp, every fight does take a little bit piece of a fighter, but there's certain fights that take more of you away, and I feel like he's one of them guys where it's going to take more away from a fighter. So yeah, there's value for about. I think Riyadh season in Turkey would be great for Bakhram. It seemed like Crawford and Majimov didn't want to take many chances in that fight. No, it was a high level chess match, and you know I was there. I was dead tired by the time the main event came on. I wanted to go home, but it wasn't no great fight to be honest. And the last thing I want to say about Bakhram, right? Because this live is about him and what he did to Tim Zoo. There's been a lot of talk about what could be a big fight for him, and I saw my good buddy Sean Tatel, you know, the other half of the the best pair in boxing media. He said that he would like to see Jaron Ennis move up to 154 to challenge Bakhram, which I'm pretty sure he could do pretty fluidly and easily because Jaron Ennis is the IBF welterweight champion, so he's going to have standing within the IBF. I'm pretty sure he might even be able to get an immediate title shot if he wanted to go to 54 and fight Bakhram. So I think that'd be the best. Like I think that'd be a great move for Jaron Ennis. You go to a weight class where you can rehydrate, you'll have more of your strength with you. And it's really gonna be. It comes down to this: is Jaron Ennis as good as I think he is, and is Jaron Ennis as good as a lot of boxing fans think he is? Because I'll tell you like this: if Jaron Ennis is as good as we think he will find a way to beat Bakhram and beat him in comfortable fashion. Because that's the level and that's a standard that he's been propped up to these years. You know, he's a switch hitting athletic fighter with good size for the weight class, can punch hard in both hands. Good defensive fighter when he wants to be. You know, sometimes if he's fighting a guy who has no power, he'll sit in the pocket, he'll roll shots, he'll take shots. But generally speaking, he's mostly a good defensive fighter most of the time. I think Bakhram and Jaron Ennis would be a great fight for boxing, and I think if Ennis could go up there and pick that belt off from Bakhram, coming off the heels of his demolition job over Tim Zoo, then that's going to do a lot for Jaron Ennis, and then I actually think it would put him in a power position to maybe fight Terrence Crawford because now people would really be calling for a Terrence Crawford fight because look, he gets beat up on the Russian dude that beat the hell out of Tim Zoo, so that his stock will go up. So if I'm Ennis, I do this Karen fight. I beat the brakes off Karen. I let everybody know that that first fight was just an off night. And then I dropped the IBF belt, and I petitioned with the IBF to try to get an immediate title shot at Bakhram Murtazaliev. I implore my promoter, Eddie Hearn, to pay this man whatever it's going to take to get him in the ring. And then you go in the ring and you showcase your skills to the best of your abilities, and you beat Bakhram, and boom, all of a sudden in one fight, you go from being a guy who's a champion in a weight class that's not good at all right now at welterweight to now being a guy who's champion in one of, if not the hottest weight class in boxing. And now you're in a power position to get fights against Virgil Ortiz, Boachuk, Terrence Crawford, and you could really make some things happen. So I think that'd be a hell of a move for Jaron Ennis. Now, do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. They're probably going to stay at 47 and fight, Suleiman Sissoko and maybe Brian Norman. And if we're lucky, maybe a Jin Sasaki. That'd be great. But if I just put my manager's hat on, if I was the manager of Boots, I would be trying to get on the phone with the IBF, see what I could do to petition or request an immediate title shot and go right after Bakhram. Because Boots has 30 plus fights. He's seen all kinds of styles. He's a very talented fighter. If you believe in your talent, it's that stage in the ball game in his career now where you let the dogs loose and you let the dog loose and you see what you got. That's what I think. Ennis versus, oh yeah, for sure. One thing, it'll be an exciting fight because like you said, Jaron Ennis he can overcommit at times. I think in a fight like that though, against a guy that strong, he's gonna be defensively a lot sharper. You won't see the Ennis that was sitting in the pocket against Avanesyan and rolling shots. I think that'd be an amazing fight. One thing I'm surprised is people have not mentioned yet is that Bakhram's ability to take Tim's clean flush shots, and Tim can punch. Yeah, well, I think too. Just looking at two of them, I think he was physically a bit bigger than Tim. So I think that played a role, and he also trained very hard for the fight. So a lot of it goes on to preparation. You guys got to understand these fights. What you see on fight night, it's a culmination of days, weeks, and months of hard, grueling camps. Guys they're doing sparring, they're running mountains, they're chopping wood, they're doing their sit-ups, they're doing everything possible to get an advantage. They're swimming. I mean, it's a never-ending list. I've seen training camps for fighters before, and I'm starting to get a real idea of what really goes into a fight. And whatever you see on fight night, it's just months and months of